the floor of the CME Group, this is Danny Riley on this Friday, April 30th. You know, the market's under a little selling pressure here today, and I think that the way it worked is that, you know, after the S&P sold off, it regurgitated all that stuff about Goldman and went back up, you know, took its normal course, going back up. But today it's a little bit of a different story. First of all, at the end of April, April ends the best 6-month period for stocks. And there's an old adage that goes along with that. It's called sell it in May and walk away. Well, you know, this is something that people should really be concerned about. We're not saying that the market's going to correct or sell off hard, but there is a potential that over the next couple of months we will see some type of legitimate sell-off or correction. As far as today's trade's concerned, you know, the market started out on a fairly negative note this morning. Barclays PLC reported, and their numbers came in good, but they didn't beat out a lot of their peers. You know, a lot of these other banks that have reported really big numbers lately, so the stock sold off. In turn, this took down a lot of the European markets, the DAX, the FTSE. These markets sold off early in the morning, and that kind of added weakness to the S&P. When we got up in the morning about 5:30, the S&P was up a couple of handles, and then as soon as Barclays reported, the S&P sold off. Now, another thing that's helping the market a little lower today is Goldman stock is down how much?
Down like $13.
Goldman stock was down as much as $13, and there's talk that there may be a further investigation into some of their dealings with some of the subprime mortgages that they did and the hedge funds that they dealt with during that stuff. You know, the way this works right now is you can't get overly excited about anything right now, the up or the downside. We very well could be heading into a period where stocks go into even a further sideways motion without going up or down a lot. But as far as the rest of the day is concerned, today we have the April month-end options that are expiring. This may not sound like a big deal, but it is. You know what? There's still a lot of open interest over here in these options, and today will be the last day that you can trade them. As far as the volumes are concerned in these options today, there's only about 7,000 traded, and that's pretty normal for what we see during this time of the day. Later in the day, those volumes will pick up significantly. As far as the S&P is concerned, we have about 7,000 bigs traded. We have about 1.25 million minis traded. You know, so far that's in line with what we've been seeing recently. As far as the rest of the day is concerned, the desk wrote an email today saying that they thought that there'd be early weakness in the S&P due to the Goldman story and the Barclays story, but then late in the day we may get some type of bounce. And then the last part of this is Mutual Fund Monday. Now, we had a different stat than our numbers were a little different, but we're going to go with Zero Hedge's numbers, and that is that since September 2009, out of the last 34 mutual fund Mondays, only 5 have been down. Now, a lot of traders, what they do when they go with that stat, they buy the futures late in the day on Friday and they hold them into Monday. Now, what we're going to do a little something different today. We've got a broker that is from the top step of the S&P, and his name is Scott Wallach. He's been in the S&P pit for about 20-something years, and he is really, really good at what he does, and he fills some of the top orders in the pit. Now, if we can get, what we're going to do, we're going to let him step in and give his views on what he's seeing, and then we'll be back on Monday to give you a little update as far as what Mutual Fund Monday is doing. We'll see you and have a good weekend.
Hi, this is Scott Wallach. I'm talking to the outside the S&P 500 pit in Chicago. I've been in here since the day it opened 28 years ago, and I intend on staying here till the day it's closed. I feel for some of the top institutions in the pit, and I get a pretty good feel on how the order flow is coming in and out of the pit. Things might be going electronically, and we have a majority of it on electronics now, but when the poop hits the fan, they still call the floor to find out who's doing what and how it's happening and who's doing it and where they're doing it. We get a good feel for that by being in there all day, every day. The beginning of the month, we saw a lot of flow come in on the sell side. It seems like they're capping out of it. You see a lot of buying coming in at the end of the month, and I think a lot of it is covering the shorts from earlier in the month and maybe extending into next month a little bit of a rally, and looking forward to a little bit of a rally. As far as today, we see a lot of, I think, short covering for what they've had earlier in the month. After that, pretty much as we go for the rest of the day, it's going to be kind of quiet. Nice talking to you. Come back to the S&Ps anytime you want. They've created everything on the internet to do what we do live, and they still haven't beat us yet. They will one day, but until then, go to the top step. That's where you'll find us all.